Welcome to the video, SPHL fans. In this video, I'm kind of going to break down the point standings and make some predictions on where I think teams may finish in the point standings, and take a look ahead at some key matchups coming up for teams. I'm not going to break down the matchups, obviously. I just want to point the matchups out because they're important to the point standings. Now again, these are just my personal opinions and predictions. It doesn't mean that this is law or I know everything or this is 100% going to happen. That's why it's called a prediction, because I'm predicting this to happen and just giving my opinion. So let's not lose our minds over it and just kind of have fun with it. Hoping to keep this video reasonable in length. If I go over 20 minutes, I'm going to be super pissed at myself. So with that, we'll go ahead and get right on into this and kind of go over the point standings where teams currently sit as of right now that I'm recording the video. We'll start at first place. They got Huntsville Havoc with 63 points. And in second place, they got the Rivermen at 63 points as well, tied with Havoc. The reason I think Havoc is above Rivermen is because both teams have played one time versus each other, and Havoc do have a win over the Rivermen. In third place, we got the Rail Yard Dogs at 56 points. Fourth place, we got the Marksmen, and they have 48 points. Surprising to see Thunderbolts up in fifth place, albeit not by much, at 45 points. You got the Bulls at sixth with 44 points. Ice Bears at seventh, also with 44 points. Eighth place, Storm, the final playoff spot, at 38 points. And so far on the outside looking in, you got the Macon Mayhem at 37 points. And then you got in the last place, Pensacola Ice Flyers at 36 points, who just got swept by the Thunderbolts, which is a big reason they're still in last, and Thunderbolts shot up to fifth place. So when it comes to my predictions and assessments, we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. To me, it's a three-team race on missing playoffs at this current moment. Ice Flyers, Mayhem, and Storm. I think two of those teams are going to miss the playoffs, and one of them is going to get that eighth spot and most likely be one and done in the playoffs. I'm going to stick with my prediction I made before the season even started, with Pensy finishing last place and missing the playoffs. So that brings us between Mayhem and Storm for that final spot in the playoffs and the first team to miss the playoffs, or second team, depending on how you want to look at it. They both have interesting matchups coming up here this weekend and next, especially Mayhem. Mayhem has 3 games against fourth place Marksmen. They really need to get 2 of those to kind of try to boost themselves up into that 8th position. And the Storm have 2 games on the road coming up against the Thunderbolts, who, like I said, just swept Pensacola. So they're kind of on a team high right now. Morale's up. I wouldn't say they killed it against Pensy, but a sweep is a sweep. They got 3 wins in a row against them, and that, like I said, is a big reason you see Thunderbolts in the 5th spot as we record this video. It's really hard. I want to say Storm get that last playoff spot, but it's going to be a battle, because not only do they got the Thunderbolts on the road 2 games, then they got the Rivermen for another 3 games in a row after that. Granted, 2 of them are in Quad City, but Storm have a hard time with the Rivermen. This has been the best season they've had, competitive-wise playing the Rivermen. They got, I think where it stands now is like 6-4 or something like that, maybe 7-5. I just know Rivermen have 2 more wins than Storm do as of this current moment. So it's going to be hard for Storm. Storm, really what they want to do is sweep the Thunderbolts, but being on the road in Evansville and the way Storm's playing right now, that's going to be a tough ask to do that. So really they're just hoping to split. And then same against the Rivermen. You're going to want to win those 2 games in Quad Cities. They have a hard time winning in Peoria. You always want to win your home games. So again, it's going to be tough sledding for Storm to hold on to that 8th spot. But I do think they have more of a chance than Mayhem right now, who is sputtering just like Pincy is. So that's an interesting race for that final playoff spot and to see who misses the playoffs. Now moving up from that, you got 4th through 7th place, which is only separated by 4 points. 4th place, Marksman 48. 7th place, Ice Bears with 44. So again, that's 2 wins, 2 losses that separate those teams from tying each other. So it's really tight. Now, Ice Bears make this interesting because they just got both their goalies called up at the exact same time. So they lost Muddinger and Taylor Joseph, which does hurt. They had another player, Dalton Skelly, called up, which again does hurt. And they're a very streaky team. At this current moment, they're on a 10-game losing streak. The way they're playing right now, I think it's a very good possibility they stay where they're at the 7th spot. I've seen nothing that the Ice Bears have done that tell me they can jump up in the standings. And they got the Rivermen coming up for 2 games in a row. So it's going to be tough. They could easily go from a 10-game losing streak to a 12-game losing streak. Calm down, Ice Bears fans. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but it's a good possibility that does happen. So in the 6th spot, you got the Bulls currently. I do think they have the capabilities of leapfrogging the Thunderbolts. Again, going to be a tough task for them to do that with the schedule they have as well. But I do believe the Bulls are a little deeper than Thunderbolts. And I do think the Bulls have the capability of doing that and possibly even catching the Marksmen at the 4th spot. Thunderbolts, I think they're in the highest spot they're going to be. In the highest spot they'll finish, which is 5th. I can definitely see Thunderbolts dropping down to 6th, though. It just, again, depends on how well they play down the stretch. With Thunderbolts, playing Cole Cece 24/7, never giving him a game off, I think that's a dumb strategy by the coach. I don't think that benefits Thunderbolts, playing Cole Cece nonstop. The only time that man doesn't play is when Ty Taylor's here. As long as Ty Taylor's up in the ECHL, it's the Cole Cece show. You might as well not even sign a backup. It's going to be Cole Cece every time, and that's why I think Thunderbolts have a good chance at dropping down. Not because Cole Cece's a bad goalie, but because he never gets time off. So I think in the end, that's going to backfire on the Thunderbolts and the coach for doing that to Cole Cece. Of course, Cole Cece is going to say, I'm fine, play me. I mean, that's just what hockey players do. But that's why you have coaches. You got to be smarter than that. Marksman, again, that's a streaky team. Um, 1 minute they look pretty good out there, and you're like, all right, this team can catch fire. And the next minute, they're about as cold can be. So it's really hard predicting where the marksman could fall. Hell, for all we know, marksman can fall clear to 7th. Or they can lock up the 4th seed. I mean, it really could go either way with that team. They did get Ryan Kinney back. So, I mean, obviously with Ryan Kinney in that does give them a good chance. But just like Thunderbolts, you can't just ride Kinney the entire time and expect to go far in the playoffs. You know, you got to rely on a backup goalie as well. That's why it's so important to have 2 goalies that are more than capable in this league so they can give each other breaks. And now we're going to touch on the top 3 teams. I think the most secure teams in the entire point standings. Rail Yard Dogs, I think that is the most secure spot locked up by a team. I honestly don't see the Rail Yard Dogs catching Riverman or Havoc, but I don't see another team in this league catching Rail Yard Dogs at 3rd place either. So I think the most secure and easy to predict spot is 3rd place at Rail Yard Dogs, which is, you know, not a horrible spot to be in if you're a Rail Yard Dog fan. You know, 3rd place is a very respectable place. Rail Yard Dogs are playing great hockey right now. They're one of the hottest teams in the league and clicking very well as a team. Team chemistry's there. Rodebush is playing the best he's played all season. So again, like I said, you know, Dogs are very secure in 3rd place and can definitely be a team that could be in the finals when it's all said and done. You know, the 1 and 2 with Riverman and Havoc, I think more than anything it's going to come down to the 2 games they got remaining with each other. I think these teams are going to keep pace with each other for the rest of the season, but they got 2 more games against each other. And there's more pressure on the Rivermen than I would say Havoc at clinching the number 1 seed. Because all Havoc has to do is split those 2 games, and they own the head-to-head victories over Rivermen. The only way Riverman is going to own the head-to-head victories is if they win those 2 games against the Havoc. Is it possible? Of course it is. But it's also going to be very difficult to do. So we'll see how that shakes out as well. So like I said, I think the top 3 is very secure. You can see Riverman or Havoc at 1 and 2, and Rail Yard Dogs, I think they're at 3rd place all day. All day. So we got a couple of games before the weekend hits. We got an education game Tuesday at 9 a.m. where Macon Mayhem visits the Fayetteville Marksmen in a key matchup for both teams. Marksmen want to kind of separate themselves a little bit from 5th place, and Mayhem is looking to get back into the playoff hunt. They're looking to surpass Storm and put Storm back down in the 9th spot, which they could do with a win against the Marksmen. And they can tie the Storm if they go to overtime and get a point. So that's a very big game coming up at 9 a.m. Tuesday. Kind of confusing and confused. Does the Markmen have 2 education games coming? Because on the app, they also have another 9 a.m. game in Fayetteville versus the Rail Yard Dogs on the 12th. So I'm kind of confused by that. I don't know if we've had 2 education games in one season, especially that close together. But Marksmen have 2 of them on the schedule in Fayetteville, coming up this Tuesday against Mayhem and Wednesday, March 12th against the Rail Yard Dogs. So I found that interesting. But anyway, sticking with this week, Thursday, you got another huge game for Macon Mayhem when they go on the road and face the Huntsville Havoc. So again, very, very tough ask, to beat Havoc at home right now with the way Havoc's playing and the way Mayhem is sputtering. More than likely, they're going to drop that game against the Havoc, which makes the Marksman game at 9 a.m. tomorrow, or today, by the time you're watching this video. By the time the game's over, this video will probably be out. But Mayhem need to win, or at least push it to overtime to gain a point so they can tie the Storm in the 8th spot. And I think Mayhem own the tiebreaker on Storm, so they would leapfrog them and technically be in 8th place even if they lose and just go to overtime. And so, like I said, that Havoc game, if you lose that, it wouldn't be the end of the world if you win that Marksman game. Now, after Thursday, we're going to go into Friday's game. And again, you got the Marksman now traveling to the Macon Mayhem. So Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, Mayhem have games. And they need to take 2 out of 3 of those games to really put the pressure on Storm and put themselves in a better position to capture 8th place. Then you got the Ice Flyers at the Rail Yard Dogs. Don't see much hope for the Ice Flyers in that game. Havoc versus Bulls. Never know what those two playing. And Havoc do visit the Bulls. You got Storm at the Thunderbolts. And then Ice Bears come to Riverman in Peoria. And like I said, Ice Bears are currently on a 10-game losing streak. So, it's been a tough go at it for the Ice Bears. Then Saturday, March 1st, you got the Marksmen versus Mayhem again. So you got 4 games basically between Tuesday and Saturday for the Mayhem. So, again, a tough schedule for them. Ice Flyers finish with the Rail Yard Dogs, Bulls, Havoc, Storm, Thunderbolts, Ice Bears, Rivermen. Then you go into next week. You got the Thunderbolts at the Ice Bears. And this is where the Ice Bears need to win, especially depending on what they do against the Rivermen. But regardless what they do against the Rivermen, they need to win against the Thunderbolts. That's a big matchup. Thunderbolts are in 5th. You're in 7th. You're separated by 3 points at the moment. Got to beat the Thunderbolts. Then you got the Rail Yard Dogs at the Bulls. Very big game for the Bulls. And then Rivermen versus Storm. Then Saturday, you got Mayhem versus the Ice Bears. Big game for both teams. Rail Yard Dogs finish with the Bulls. Rivermen versus Storm. And then Sunday, 2 huge games. Havoc versus Thunderbolts in Evansville. And Storm versus Rivermen. So like I said, again, Storm have 3 games coming up against the Rivermen again. 2 of them being in Quad City. And then Thursday, March 13th, you got the Havoc at the Bulls again. And like I said, March 12th, Rail Yard Dogs versus Marksmen. And that's on the app scheduled for 9 a.m. So as you see, there's still, every matchup from here on out is a key matchup. It is very important to lock up these positions in the point standings for home ice. Home ice is important in a 3-game series. It could be the difference between winning or losing. There's even a difference between 1st and 2nd and 3rd and 4th. Because if you finish 2nd place, the only time you're not going to have home ice is if you see the 1st place team in the final. So again, all these matchups are important. For Pensy, for Mayhem to get back into the playoffs, for Storm to stay in the playoffs, for the Ice Bears not to drop to the 8th position. They want to get above the Thunderbolts and Bulls. Thunderbolts want to keep their position. Just so many key matchups coming up. So it's going to be an entertaining season from here on out with all these important key games coming up. It's going to be interesting to see what the standings look like as March comes to a close. Coming up on exactly 20 minutes here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Again, a lot can happen between now and the end of the season. I think the top 3 spots are most secure, and the battle, for that final playoff position, I even think that's going to be entertaining. So with that, go ahead and wrap it up. We'll see you at the next puck drop, and I always keep it Riverman style.